Ta-da! Personality and plays and entertainment. We are in a golden era of what's possible. Dan and I talk about today the play that he invested in from Jeffrey Madoff, which is spectacular. We just saw it together last Saturday.
You normally think that your return on investment is going to be money, but I've already had a 10 times return on investment just by being a passenger on this ride of creating a new Broadway play.
I'm just excited about being alive right now in the world of entertainment. Dan, I just came back from a great adventure in Chicago. Besides a couple days as strategic coach, we went and saw Personality, the play, which is a Lloyd Price musical. Here's the fancy mug I got, a fantastic Yeti mug, and this is the what are these things called? The notes at a play.
The program.
There's another thing, but anyway. Playbill, that's what it is. I was looking for Playbill.
Yeah.
So, and our good friend, Jeffrey Madoff, put this play on. He's been working on it now for, I think it's 6 years.
6 years, yeah.
I've been hearing about it since he started talking about it. I thought, oh my God, man, are you willing to risk your entire career and your livelihood and probably your savings working on a play? I thought, what a terrible investment. And the first time he sent me the draft of the script, I was blown away. We saw the table reading where he got actors together, and watching the development. You're an investor in it. You just went for, was it your 6th or 8th time, or was it 7th?
6. It was the 6th time I've seen it so there were 3 stages. Well, I got the script too before it happened, and then I saw on video, I saw the table reading, and then there were a thing called workshops, which is the first time the whole play is put on except for costumes and scenery. Yeah. And that was in New York, right in the theater district, and they have 72 hours according to union rules where they can put on 2 presentations. And it was terrific. It was terrific. And so just to take the watchers and listeners of this back, Lloyd does a lot of documentary, or Jeff Madoff does a lot of documentary films. And one of the subjects was a man by the name of Lloyd Price, who it turns out is the first legitimate rock and roll star, and he crossed a bridge for whatever they called this music before he crossed the bridge, but he was the first real legitimate rock and roll star, and this was in late 1951, early 1952. And I remember him because I was 7 and 8 years old in 1951 and 1952. And Lloyd and I are both from Northern Ohio, and we're both in our 70s. I think I'm about 4 years older than Lloyd is. And so we have a lot of history that we can collect. We have a podcast series called Anything and Everything, just to nail us down. And anyway, we were at lunch in New York 5 years ago, and Lloyd said, we're really ready to go to build the play that you read the script of. And he was talking about the first funding round, and he went to the restroom, and while he was away, Babs and I said, let's invest in this. And when he came back, and I said to Jeff, we really want to support you. And he says, well, that's very much appreciated. He says, moral support is really good, but what I'm looking for right now is money. And I said, yeah, we're interested. And he named the minimum entry, and and we took a look and we says, yeah, we'll be in. And we've done it 3 times now, and it goes, as it goes. So it's like a startup in any, like a technology startup. You have these funding rounds, and you jump from stage to stage in terms of you're further away from the marketplace, and then at a certain point you're in the marketplace. And this in Chicago, this is right in the theater district of Chicago at the Studebaker Theater, and they were about a month into the 12-week run. So they have a 12-week run, which is a really big run for a play, 12 weeks, and it is spectacular. Okay, and and it's so well written, and it's so well cast, and all the other skills, the choreography, the set design, the music director, and of course it's all the original music. These are all #1 hits on the hit parade in the 1950s and 1960s. And he's just the character of Lloyd Price is just an extraordinary made in America type of character. You wouldn't get this type of character anywhere else in the world. And the play really reflects this. And fortunately, Lloyd Price was still alive when we did our the workshop stage, and it was backstage after the play. Babs and I were able to talk to him, and he's, at that time he was 86, 87 years old, and didn't develop a lot of bad habits that people in the entertainment industry, the things that they take on to shorten their life and therefore shorten their career. He led a full life, and it's a great story. And I recommend anyone who's interested in history, who's interested in music, who's interested in theater, to get to Chicago as fast as you can and sign up and bring a lot of your friends with you. We've had so far probably about 50 or 60 strategic coach clients, and their family members go to the play, and they all come back and say, what a spectacular play.
Yes.
In Chicago, they have about 5 magazines and publications, which they have a 1 through 10, what you should do this summer. And Personality, the play, named after his most famous hit, which was Personality. If you go to YouTube and you look up Lloyd Price, you've heard the music, you just didn't know who wrote the music and who performed the music. And
that's right.
The actors are spectacular. The cohesion of the play is just amazing from the start to finish. And I've seen it twice so far. I saw it the first week, and I've now in week 5, and I saw it, and I was just amazed at the tightness of the production.
Yes, I'll give you my quick evaluation and gratitude to Jeffrey, and then I'll also tell you a little bit, a couple other what I think are interesting things. First of all, I don't know if you remember this or know this, but Tim Ferriss is one of the investors in this project as well.
Yep.
And Tim and Jeffrey go back a long time, and there's really some amazing people involved in it. And as far as the music, of course, what Lloyd Price is, a couple of the most recognizable songs are, of course, Personality, the song, do that one, and then of course Lawdy Miss Clawdy. But he is a guy who you'd absolutely recognize his music, and he really genuinely lasted for decades. Productive. Sam Cooke was one of the people he mentored, and there's a
Little Richard.
Yeah, it's just like he knew everyone, and he was one of the first to do televised music shows from a location.
The first recording artist to own his own label.
Yeah, and he was the first African American to really figure out the music business and figure out how to not only make but keep his money and stay out of trouble, like you had said. So all those things packaged up in a remarkable show. What I loved about the program, if I went through it, is from the moment it opened up, one of the things that they did that I really liked is they had two versions of Lloyd on screen at a time. So there's a younger one and then the older one who's the narrator. And that play between the two where they're actually engaged. It's sort of like breaking the, what do they call it? Breaking the third wall or the fourth wall on screen when the character turns to the camera and talks to you. When like Ferris Bueller did that, Fletch did that. There have been a couple of movies. I think like Airplane probably did it too. And then Blazing Saddles, that is it's kind of shocking.
Yeah.
And yet it's
Shakespearean.
Fun.
It's Shakespearean.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. To have that narrative with the audience is
Hamlet comes out and then he's talking to himself, but he lets you listen in on he's talking to himself.
So smart. It's just a great.
What's interesting is the character, the adult Lloyd Price. His name is Saint Aubin. Mm-hmm. He came right out in the audience periodically, and would talk to the individual. He would sing to the members and he would high five them and he would make references. So it really, it was a very interactive play, although it was, it was a stage play and the action took place on stage. But what I noticed, the huge connection between the audience and the company, the theater, the cast company and everything else. So it was just this enormous connection that was established in the first minute. Mm-hmm. And it stayed absolutely till they were taking their bows. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfectly. If I were going to talk about the things I loved the most, it is tight. Like there isn't an offbeat in the whole thing. And what they're pulling off both vocally, with dance, with costume changes, the flow of the thing, there are no breaks. There's some lighting tricks during transitions, but I found watching the production just as entertaining as the show. And the performances of the singers, what it's clear is they're hungry. And that doesn't mean they're inexperienced or not talented. You can tell they're hungry. Like they know they are writing a great show that is exceptionally well produced, exceptionally well written by people who care. And while you're watching it, the whole time I was like, God, I can't wait to see the movie version of this. This is a movie. And I think from a brain perspective, I walked away feeling as though I couldn't tell whether I watched a play or a movie. Yeah. And when that happens, it means that there's a certain level of congruence and timing impeccability that is exceptionally difficult to pull off. Yeah. And
I remember the other thing is they pioneered an entirely new sound technician, sound technology. And that is, when he went to turn the radio on and the radio off, that was being done by the sound technician. There wasn't actually any music coming out of the radio, but it made it seem like the radio. And anywhere where one of the cast were singing, they were able to amplify the sound of that person. And this is the first time that this technology has ever been used.
Is it some form of like 3D audio processing or something like that? Or because it could have been just my brain. It felt directional at times. And I was trying to, I was trying to put I didn't know that, but I noticed it.
Well, the other thing is the set seemed to be a movie. They would, when they were driving in a car, you would see the traffic going by.
Right. The way they did the monitors and the screens behind them, it's basically, it wasn't projectors, but it was projection. Yeah. And it's partial. So it wasn't like there's a whole set of screens and monitors. So it didn't distract from the performance.
Your eye filled in. It gave you enough suggestion that your brain could fill in. Yeah. Yeah. And, Lloyd is Jeff is just an incredibly good writer, and he's an incredibly good producer who can bring amazing talents together and work work on a common purpose.
Yeah, I would say, and I love how he asks, because he's not a hard anything. He is, if you want to be involved in this, great. He doesn't take anything personally, to the level of commitment, dedication, and consistency. That's another big thing about Jeff. But I would also say he has the technical, the level of detail and attention. It'll be like he's like fractal like, meaning when you look through a microscope or a telescope and you keep on seeing a universe, that's what Jeff's brain is like to me. Because when he and I, here's the way I describe hanging out with Jeff. I'll call him up and I'll be like, hey, let's meet for coffee. And coffee means you start at 9 and you end at about 4:30 when the coffee shop's closing, because there's a constant stream of fascinating topics that all flow together, and it's not an ADHD orgy. You know what I mean? It's like there's continuity to the conversation, and but yet there's that creative flow. So he's genuinely one of the best conversationalists I've ever known, and he's got an endless stream of great stories, because he's not, Vivian often says, if you want to be fascinating, you have to be fascinated. And he is an exceptional interviewer. Yeah. Really, really knows how to get in and pull the core and essence out of an individual or a circumstance or situation. And so he's a great filmmaker, producer, writer, and I can't say enough good things about him. So
yeah. One of the things is about 3 years ago, Jeff and I created a podcast. And so about every fourth podcast we do was just asking Jeff about the creation of something like this, and it's all guesses and bets, he says, this is a high risk investment. And I said, and I told him, and Babs and I told him, we told him, Jeff, we're not investing in the play, we're investing in you.
Right on.
And I said, after the third round of investment, he said, this is really risky what you're doing here. And I said, I've already got a 10 times return just by being a passenger on this trip. So I said, don't you worry about but I said, I think there's going to be a big return. You know what? The moment I saw in its first workshop setting, I said, this is one of those iconic plays that'll be going 25 years from now, 50 years from now. Mm-hmm. Okay, because it so captures what happened in a particular decade when rock and roll hit the world. And this was the first guy across the bridge into this new world. And I said, this is a timeless play.
I completely agree. It'll be just as fun to watch in 100 years as it was now. So let's flip over to, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about entertainment and shifting entertainment. So at this moment, when we're recording this, and I was just talking to a past strategic coach member, Joel Zadek, who represents many, many big name comedians in Hollywood, including Jordan Peele, Tiffany Haddish, Jimmy Chang, Jimmy Wang, and lots and lots of others. I mean, big players. Get more clients, grow your business with better marketing and messaging. Make more money and get a better life with more freedom of time, money, relationship, and impact. Learn more about our 3-day one-on-one done with you reinvention workshop. Visit connecttomike.com to book a conversation with me right now. All right, back to the episode. And there's a writer's strike going on right now, and the actors are about to strike. And I've had a feeling for quite a while that this is an industry that, unfortunately, they were devastated during the lockdown. Hollywood in general. It's been ripe for a big change. On the way back from flying home last night, or the night before, I watched a chunk of Babylon, which is really a movie with Brad Pitt. And it's really about just how it was a transition period when Hollywood went from talkies went from silent films to talkies, and how the people who used to be in silent films couldn't get their head around this new era. And right now, we went from the traditional film world, and then VHS and DVDs and rentals, and then to streaming. And now everyone there is fearful about what's going to happen with AI. It's my opinion that in the entertainment industry, doing strikes and expecting the world to stay the same is putting a nail in the coffin of a lot of Hollywood. And if you think you're protecting yourself by trying to force your will on an industry that doesn't have control over itself, and costs are going to continue to go down, and the value of things is going to completely shift. The world of virtual is going to change all this. I have a tremendous amount of respect for entertainers, entertainment, the creative process, and it's hard. It is a hard business, but the world is changing. So you just can't build castles on top of sand and expect things to be stable. But I'd be curious what your take is on what's going on right now. And you've watched a lot of shifts and changes in entertainment. I consider you to be an entertainer as well. And just a different kind of entertainer. But at the end of the day, we're in show business. So what's your take on what's going on right now? And I want to get a sense of your perception, because you have the benefit of more history on your side.
Yeah. It's interesting. The golden age of movies was actually after sound had come in. It was really probably from the mid 30s to the mid 50s. And it was the studio system, and it was based on stars. Okay. And you had stars, and the studio protected prevented the public of knowing too much about the personal lives of the stars.
Yeah.
Okay. And a lot went on there that you wouldn't want the public to know. And they were royalty. When I grew up, the actors were. America doesn't have royalty, but the movie stars came as close to being royalty as any any profession ever became in American history. Okay. And when the studio broke down, there was a plus for actors and there was a minus for actors. And the plus was they had a lot more freedom to go out and do their own projects, and there were a lot more independent movie companies, but they weren't studio system. They lost the protection of the studio. Okay. And the other thing is they became, we were going through a real political change, and the actors identified themselves with certain political themes. And I don't want to know what my favorite actor thinks about politics. I don't want them to, and they don't realize that they're losing their luster every time they open their mouth about one of my favorite actors, and he's a longtime actor. He's British by the name of Michael Kitchen, and Michael, I think, started acting and being in movies when he was about 18, and I think he's in his early 70s now. So he's been continually employed over that period of time. And during those 55 years, do you know how much interview time he has? either in print or in sound or in visual. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. And he was really boring. He was really boring. Yeah, he said, yeah. I'm really busy. I don't really think much about that topic. He said, he says, I go to work in the morning and I act all day, and then I go home at night and I meet my family, and I've got some hobbies. I do my hobbies and everything else. But he said, it's all about what I do during work hours. And he says, and I don't know much about acting, but people tell me I'm a good actor. And I don't have any theories about it. I don't see that there's anything significant about it other than actors are people who are good at pretending to be other people. And, and it's the people I pretend to be are the really interesting people. He says, I'm just somebody who's good at pretending. And it says, and the characters that I take on don't really reflect who I am as an individual. And people don't really I find people don't really want to know who I am as an individual. Well, we've come 180 degrees from that. He has a great series. It's one of the great, probably BBC, probably British Broadcasting Corporation, probably.
Yeah.
I think one of these great series. It was about a 7-year series with, roughly 10 hours a season, called Foyle's War. And it is one of the most spectacular acting jobs I've ever seen in my life. And he doesn't do anything. It's not an action thing, but he has a way of moving his face that shows up, but it doesn't show up when he's being filmed. It shows up when the editor's looking at the film. He has a way of saying, "Oh," and there's mountains of meaning. And when he says, "Oh," his sense of timing is everything else. But he has a mystique about him. Boy, I'd really like to get to know this person, but he doesn't let you get to know him.
Yeah.
And that makes him a special kind of entertainer. So my sense is, whether it's entertainers in sports or entertainers on stage I don't want to know anything about who they are as individuals. And from their perspective, they shouldn't want anyone to know who they are as an individual. They should only want people to know them through the characters that they play.
Yeah. That takes an enormous amount of ego control and
confidence.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. The expectation of an actor these days is so much different because of the level of activity required and demanded on them. And also the fact that in the past, I think I've told you this story before, but Richard Dreyfuss, I spent a chunk of time with him, and he is a classic example of a guy who.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's actually fairly coarse in real life. And he talks a lot. We remember at you
were on the plane. You were on the plane.
Yeah. But there's a phrase that we talked about this last week, and I said VPM. It's value per minute. It's how much value comes out of your mouth per minute. And he's a great actor, but he talks too much when he's in person. He doesn't get to the damn point. It'd be like, God, I'll spend an hour and a half on something. It's like, shit, I don't know what the hell you just said. And but I like him. Like he's fun to hang out with. It's just like, God dang, just get to the point, man. Sell me. And I've hung out with a few actors who are similar on that level. And just like you say, they don't have to be the most interesting people in the world. And sometimes shutting up is really important. But these days, like if you look at Ryan Reynolds, he just sold his mobile phone company for billions of dollars. Yeah. Just like George Clooney, when he did his alcohol deal, made him a billionaire. Okay. And actors have a level of freedom and independence because their platforms and their social media are massive currency multipliers and fame multipliers.
I tell you, a great symbol of what actors have become is Megan, and actors as royalty and royalty as royalty, okay, that she was invited in to the royal family, and then she told the whole world about her inner feelings about being a member of the royal family. And quite frankly, I don't want to know anything about the royal family. I just really like their pageantry, and I just really like I just like the theater. I just like the theater of royalty, you know. And boy, the Queen, who just died, she had her role down totally pat. She stayed in character for 70 years, you know.
Yeah.
Because nobody, and I don't think you have anything on film about what she felt about anything, you know, or thought about anything. But she showed up every day. She showed up on time. She did what she said she was going to do, and you know, and everything. And Megan wants us to know about her inner toil mud, you know, and then and everything. And not only has she lost her status as a member of the royal family, but she's I wouldn't want to be anywhere. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near this person as she is as a person.
Very low.
I think that's a nice contrast of what's happened to the field of acting. And she thought Buckingham Palace was just like Hollywood. It's not. It's not. And Hollywood isn't anything like Hollywood used to be. You know, it's a different world. You know, they're chopped liver.
Well, that maybe my last point in the entertainment world, because I know you've got to wrap up soon, is that what I predict is going to happen is very much what happened where podcasting, the difference between podcasting and radio, and what YouTube did, where distribution and platforms are basically free now, and you're rewarded with, you know, it's always been a popularity contest, but now your ability to reach an audience is easier than ever before, and what AI and some of the new tools are going to enable really smart entrepreneurial actors, actresses, and producers to do is bypass all the system. So unions are putting, I think they're shooting themselves another time, and you can't protect yourself, and you're going to be rewarded on a pure meritocracy basis for being extremely productive.
And not only that, understanding what the audience wants. There will be the level of transparency. And you know what? Jordan Peele did that when he started doing all of his YouTube stuff years ago. And that guy got a $500 million deal. So, but, well, we can bring this one to a halt, but I think the most important takeaway is get your ass on over to see this play Personality, because it's so damn good. And these actors and performers really, really deserve this attention. And I want Jeffrey to be unbelievably successful. I want to see that play in Las Vegas and on Broadway. And I want to see that movie in London West End.
Oh, hell yeah. And I'll go there with you. That's I'd do that as long as it's not winter. Not a fan of London in the wintertime, but anyway, it was. I want to continue having this conversation about entertainment, entertainers, and making cool things, because we're about to begin a whole new era of movie making and what entertainers can do. And I'm really excited for the entrepreneurial ones who decide to take matters into their own hands, take control, and create great things without the burdens of the past inflicted on them.
Yep.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you in the next episode. Make sure you like, comment, and share this with people you love. See ya.